Hey everybody, how you doing? It's another episode of the Vulnerable Vikings, and we've got a great guest today. But first, we were just talking about Vikings,
Yeah.
and this is like off the cuff, but she was talking to me about, obviously the history, but the series, and Syd should get some royalties
Royalties.
from watching and promoting the
Yeah.
Vikings.
And Vikings. Not Viking. Because there's another show, Viking.
Oh, there's
No
another show
bueno.
there.
Vikings.
Gotcha.
Hulu.
Hulu.
Phenomenal.
See, that's what we want. Thanks for watching. We hope you're downloading. You see this on Spotify, YouTubing, and anywhere you can find your podcasts. If you will probably be with Spotify, we'll be on video. We'll have video too because I don't really like just the audio. So we'll be doing that here really quick. So look for that. Anyway, today is a beautiful Saturday morning here in beautiful downtown Riverton in the Longhouse. And Syd, I have known on social media, and she has been quite an influencer, has had quite a life, still does. And
Thankfully.
has thankfully and entrepreneur, been involved in all kinds of different things. And that's why I wanted to have her on, because she has she's got many stories, but her first story that I'd like her to kind of tell, and this is the Vulnerable Viking. And so anything you want to say, you can say. If you don't want to say it, you don't have to say it. But tell us about your birth into the world and where that was and how you came to be in
Here.
America. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm full-blooded Filipino. And my birth mom was in a cardboard box on the side of the road in complete poverty in the Philippines. And so at the time, I believe his name was, well, I know his name, President Rose. He was over the LDS mission home at the time, and his driver was a taxi driver. And one day, this driver comes back to President Rose and says, "Hey, I've noticed there is a pregnant woman living in a box, starving. She has nothing, but I don't have enough money to help feed her. Will you help me?" So President Rose starts giving money for a little bit. One day he says, "Well, ask the mom if she'll put her baby up for adoption." So my birth mom said no. And then a little bit later, he goes, "Okay, ask her if the baby goes to the United States, will she put the baby up for adoption?" And so, from what I understand, my birth mom was sort of begrudgingly said, okay, because,
That's
there's,
not something you would do, like
Yeah.
culturally, right?
yeah, and you don't know, still to this day, you don't really know. But back then, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not 20. Doesn't matter.
You're not 20?
And I'm not 30. Okay, it doesn't keep going. So anyway, but back then there was not those kind of records, right?
Right.
So he asks her, and she finally says, okay. So it just so happened here in Utah, my mom, Linda Hall, happened to be working with President Rose's daughter at the time. And my mom just said in passing, trying to make conversation, "Oh, your parents are on a mission. Wouldn't that be great to adopt?" So the next day, President Rose calls and says, "Look, this woman who's literally in a box on the side of the road starving, if she doesn't find someone to adopt her baby, the baby will be trafficked or sold into prostitution." So that was like a freaking close call.
Wow.
so
Wow.
so then I lived in the mission home for a little bit. I was born with a tooth, square earlobes, and I did have hair like a monkey. Like
Square earlobe, square ears, one tooth.
and one tooth.
Kind of like one of those Disney characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hair. And then and they did say only full-blooded Filipinos have square earlobes.
Oh, really?
They're not square anymore
I
because
grew
I had
up
them
with a
pierced.
lot of wonderful Filipino cultured people, and I remember that.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, you
remember
learned
that.
something. Okay,
Square ears.
square earlobes, unless you get them pierced, then it pulls on
Gotcha.
whatever. So then there is a guy that's sort of like a governor there that was not allowing me to be adopted. So then President Rose said to him, look, if you honestly believe that this baby is going to do better here in the United States than over with Ron and Linda Hall, then you keep her and don't sign the paperwork. But I'm going to have faith that you're going to do the right thing, because the guy was adamant. So President Rose came back, I think like a week and a half later, and the papers were signed, and they put me in a banana dress.
A banana dress?
With my hair and my tooth and my earlobes, and hung me from the ceiling of the airplane in a basket and flew me over.
Really? Really?
And so
how
here I
old
am.
were you at the time?
Oh, I was just a baby.
Yeah.
I was just, I think
Who knows?
Like
Just like
over a month or something.
way under a year.
Yeah.
Under 6 months.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Because I got lucky.
Wow.
Lucky. And ever since then, my
you
life has
came-
been golden. I mean, I have to
Right.
work, but being
Yeah.
here in this country, this is hiccups here, because I don't want to belittle anyone's challenges, but ultimately, if you have something that you need or want, there's a way to get something. So sorry. I know you people are like, what
That's
the
okay.
crap, Syd?
All right. We're not in church, so you're good.
Thank goodness,
You're good to
because
go.
the church would crumble.
It would. It would tell you to leave. No. That's awesome. Okay, so yes, and you were talking about the United States particularly, and the freedoms and the benefits and everything that come along with it. If you had stayed in the Philippines, or you had grown up there, the
You would
poverty
be
and everything
finding
like that.
me.
Yeah, we would be trying to rescue you.
Yeah.
For sure. Kind of back up a little bit. Have you ever met your birth mother ever?
No.
Is that something you ever wanted to do? Probably a needle in the haystack.
Right.
Probably. Right.
Well, I've
'Cause-
considered it, and let me tell you why I've been considering more, but because I don't know if I was a secret, because in third world countries, it's still
it could have been. You could have
taboo
been a
to-
baby of someone
that's not married.
Right.
And she thought she was married. My mom thought she was married. And then when she got pregnant, her husband said, oh, we're not married. I have another family, kicked her out. And that's how she ended up homeless. And he didn't give her money, of course.
So the only thing you know is what President Rose and the Halls knew about you when you came.
Right.
That's pretty much all you
That's
know.
it.
Wow. So how was childhood? I mean, obviously you integrated. You were here. You're
I'm as
American.
white as-
Where'd you go to high school? Go here.
Taylorsville High School.
T-Ville and all that kind of stuff. Good childhood.
Oh, yeah.
Really good people. Fantastic.
Yeah,
people.
I
It
have
must
to
been.
tell you, my life has been golden. I was brought up by all-American blue-collar family. I'm the only one adopted. I have a red-headed sister, brunette sister, blonde sister, and a father that Ron Hall, spectacular. I have to tell you a story. So I have severe dyslexia.
Yeah.
So you don't want me to measure.
read this.
Because I'm going to tell you, it's 29 small click, long click, small click. That's how you're going to measure. And people are like, what the crap is that? I don't know, but that's what your measurement is. So
Gotcha.
you don't want me to measure. But one day in middle school, so I was training for the Olympics in soccer and in gymnastics at about that time up through high school. So, but my body I was built, right? Which was a plus. I just didn't realize it.
Yeah.
If I knew it, man, I should have been
Well,
doing
and when you're a teenager, you have all those insecurities, and you're like, oh, I'm not good enough.
Yeah, and I look
but you
back and
are.
go, what the
Yeah.
crap?
If I had the confidence now, I'd go back and kick ass. Yeah.
But anyway, so I find myself in this classroom. It's like a 10 by 10, maybe 10 by 14 classroom. All four walls are glass. Sits in the middle of the library. Everybody that has to go to their next class has to pass this classroom. And you know that anyone that's in this classroom is dumb, slow, or stupid. You just know that's who's in there. So there I am, and I'm like, oh, great. If my parents find out I'm in here, right, and all of a sudden I hear this ruckus out in the lobby, and the door opens to the library. And my dad similar in stance to you. Okay, so he wasn't a guy that was small. I just want to say that.
Yeah.
He could stand his ground, right?
Sure.
So he walks in, and behind him comes a bit shorter. This poor principal was probably literally my height, 5'4". He was smaller, and he's behind saying, sir, you can't just come into my school at will. So my dad keeps walking. He comes to the door of the glass room and opens it and waves to me, and I think, oh, great. So I get up and I go over to him, and I remember him taking my shoulders and turning me to face the principal. And and my dad, again, I was in gymnastics, trained for the Olympics. So my dad says to this guy, sir, can you do a double back? And the principal, I remember him putting his hands on his hips. He's like, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. If you don't
My
fall.
dad goes, well, she can, but she's not punishing you for something you can't do, but rather you're punishing her because you can only teach one way. And he goes, and there's more ways to learn than one. So my dad takes me out, and I think this is it, because we find myself in the parking lot with my dad. Now he turns my shoulders, and he's standing, he's way up here, and he goes, DJ, look at me. So I look at him, and he says, today is the beginning of the rest of your life. We will never talk about the things you cannot do, the things you cannot overcome, the things you can't problem solve, the things that do not benefit your life. We're never going to talk about those. We will always talk about who you are, what you have passions in, where you have talents, what you can learn, what you can overcome. These are the things that make someone powerful. These are the things that make someone happy and thrive in life. This is the only thing that matters. And he says, I'll teach you how to read, write, and do math. You need to know how to do that. But from now on, we only engage in the things that empower you as a person. And I will tell you, it changed me that moment, because I easily could have grown up to be a girl from a third world country, the only girl there, any person with brown skin. I was called the N-word. I couldn't read, write, or do math. I mean, I could have grown up to have no confidence. But this man who was in concrete, so in construction, and he's just the everyday guy, had the wherewithal to raise me based upon the gifts that I own, instead of talking to me about what I couldn't do. Now I have enough confidence for 30 people.
That's awesome.
He thought maybe he'd made an error there.
What an amazing man. What an amazing story. I mean, how many parents pull their children like that away and tell them that? I mean, if we had more parents like that, I mean, no wonder you've grown up to be the overachiever, not any challenge.
The pain
anything.
in the butt that I
No, overachiever, challenger. You challenge. You've been successful at a lot of different things. I mean, could you imagine children that were told that constantly?
Yeah.
You know, we're not going to talk about that. Okay, we can talk about it for a minute, but let's talk about all the good things that you are.
Right.
And we'll talk about the things you need to work on. But by working on everything else, I just think that's an awesome story. What a cool dad. What a cool parent. What a cool upbringing. I mean, I'm sure you had your challenges. I mean, we all do, teenagers, you know, things like that. What was your life like after high school and all that? Did you delve into business and all that kind of stuff? I mean, you know, tell us a little bit about maybe some successes and some challenges that you faced, and what your, you know, maybe what your mantra, what you live by, is kind of an important thing, because I think society, you know, men, women, but mostly men, they can be afraid of a very strong female personality that's able to kind of take care of themselves.
I've been single for 10 years.
Well, hey, she's single, so there you go. We'll put the number up.
Oh gosh.
But there'll be a background check, though. There'll be a background check if you want to date Syd. So. But you know what I'm talking about. I think it's so interesting. You don't just wake up being this strong, but to have a parent like that to kind of help you into the world is probably pretty amazing. But
yeah, so
any little tidbits?
I'll tell you. So I am the way I am, good, bad, or otherwise, because of my dad, for sure. And I had torn the ligaments in my ankles doing gymnastics. So my mom puts me in dance, and I think, dance. It's such a girly thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I was only in it for a very short time. I mean, maybe 6 months, and I hear about auditions to tour Japan as a lead vocalist dancer.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and my mom was against it. She thought I needed to walk across this stage to graduate from high school, right? And I'm like, I'm going to be lucky if I graduate. I did, but it was
Right.
hard.
Right.
So my dad says, DJ, listen, let's sit down and let's write down the good and the bad, the pros and the cons of you going to Japan, the things that you could possibly get from it, and the things you're going to have to handle. And he says, now listen, you need to make sure you're making good, wise, balanced decisions because I'm not bailing you out. So you need to go prepared. Well, we sit down and we talk about what it is, learning the culture, going with the people, you know, those things. So I go and I audition, and somehow I get the gig as this lead vocalist dancer. I didn't even sing.
The sun will come out. Did you do that? No, I'm just kidding.
My mom's like, you don't even sing. I'm like, posh, posh, I'll teach myself.
I'll show you how to sing. Yeah.
So I taught myself how to sing, and there I go, off to Japan for a year.
Wow, a year.
For a year. And
How old were you?
17.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So before you graduated high school.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
all right.
that's why I missed my walk across
Right.
which
Okay.
would have been pathetic. Anyway, so I go there for a year, and I dance, I tour as a lead vocalist. I come back. I'm only home for about 6 months. So I hear about auditions for Janet Jackson's dancers, and that they're only going to take 2 Asians. Okay, and in my head,
We're only taking 2 Asians and 2 African Americans.
yeah. And
Okay.
in my head, so my mom calls me in one day. She's like, look, Janet's on television doing a concert, and there's only 5 spots. There's only 5 spots. And she's thinking I'm going to go, ugh, there's only 5 spots. Because there's millions of people. How come you could
Sure.
get there's 5 spots?
Sure.
In my head, I'm like, 5 spots?
There's one for me.
One of those is mine.
Right.
So I take off, okay, and I'm still not quite 18. So I don't know how old I am. It doesn't matter, Sid. Move on. Okay,
You're
so
still young.
I'm
Yeah.
young, but I don't think I was quite 18. So
Sure.
I take off to California. Minor detail. I thought I was wealthy because I had $400,
Uh-huh.
but that just got me across to California in my car. I don't even know how I got there because back then you had to read a map.
Right.
There's no GPS.
Yeah.
And I'm this young, ooh.
Yeah.
I find myself in California, no place to live, no food. So I lived in my car for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, homeless, like you.
Wow.
And I would not recommend that.
No.
But-
even in California.
Yeah, but
Southern
somehow
California.
I find a place to live, and this is where my dad steps in again. So I'm dancing. I'm touring with some of the top names in the.
So you didn't do the Janet gig, but you got other gigs. Or
Oh, I
you
did
get
it.
You got the Janet gig?
It's a benefit.
Well, you need that. That's important for everybody to know. You got one of the 5 gigs.
And
okay.
no, I got one of the 5 spots in the Asian. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was one
All
of the
right.
Asians.
Cool.
Okay, so anyway, I got
That's
the gig.
awesome. Okay.
Okay, so anyway, so then I'm dancing, touring, gigging, and I have an opportunity to pitch a show into major networks. So I recall saying to my dad, I need money. It's called, at the time, a treatment.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, I don't read, write, or do math. All of the important things in life, I don't do, okay? And I say to my dad, I need this treatment done so I can walk into whomever, these labels or these networks, and pitch this show. And he goes, DJ, we don't have money. If we had money, you wouldn't be living the way you're living. And he says, so you need to determine how badly you want this. If you want it badly enough, not only the journey of figuring out how to do it is going to benefit you, but it will benefit you for the rest of your life, okay?
Sure.
So I sit and I'm like, I was mad at it for a minute. What? I'm going to have to learn to read. So I go and I teach myself how to read. And let me tell you how I did that. You know the things that scan on the bottom of the television?
Yeah,
Words?
captions.
And back then they only had it for the deaf.
Yeah.
So I would turn on the deaf so I could learn to
amazing.
read
That's amazing.
and learn where a period goes and a comma and when I start a capital letter, and literally how to
You
read.
learned punctuation and how to read from
From the
captions on the
captions.
TV. Okay.
So I go teach myself how to read, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go figure out how to do this treatment. And at first I'm like, what the crap?
And this treatment is a like money up front to pitch a show.
No, a treatment is like
for.
a mission, not a business, like a business plan.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's like a
All right.
business plan.
Okay, just wanted to
And
define
when
that.
you go pitch something like that to a network, you're not Mickey Mousing around.
Sure.
So you better have your crap together, okay?
Yeah.
But that doesn't cross my mind. I'm just like, I got to figure out how to do this. So I'm learning to read, I'm learning to punctuate, and I'm learning what this is.
Right.
So I start doing this treatment, and it goes in, and it's crazy. One of them says to me, who did the treatment? And I think I'm going to get in trouble. And she goes, no, this is so well done. We thought for sure a firm had done it.
Wow.
So that was a huge gift that my dad gave me, even though it made me angry. Learning, it forced me to learn to read on my terms so that I could become what I chose to become instead of never really having opportunity to become anything.
Right.
And in the process, I figured out how to do a treatment, you know, and
So humbly, what happened from there? Did your show go, and did you get involved in that whole world?
that show didn't go, but the
didn't go, but others
gift
did?
was that I was told, and I do believe every single thing that happens to us. So have you ever heard of a reason, a season, a lifetime?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay, I got to tell you guys. So a reason, like somebody at the grocery store helps you with your groceries. A lifetime, your children, your parents, who else? Children, parents, siblings, some friends. Everybody else is seasonal. So when people come into your life, they gift you with something. They're gifting you with the opportunity to practice forgiveness, anger management, love. Sometimes they leave you with children. Sometimes they teach you how to have patience, whatever these things are. Once they teach it to you, they have to exit your life. And most of us then start pointing, look at what they did to us. Look how she was horrible to me. Instead of, if you can step back and go, where's the gift? He taught me forgiveness. Or he left me with children. And then you build upon the gift that they gave you. Then you become more brilliant because they entered your life instead of more defeated because they left, right? So that's, and I believe every situation and every person gifts us. So that opportunity, though I didn't get the gig, the opportunity was, Syd, you can read. You could teach yourself. You can write. And not only can you do it, this network just told you your treatment was phenomenal. So you clearly are capable. That was empowering.
Awesome. That's awesome. I think that, yes, I think I talk a lot about personal influence, very similar along the lines of that. You know, we don't realize how woefully small, insignificant we think we are when we speak to somebody or say hi to somebody or open a door or whatever it might be, come into their life for that, you call it a season. I call it maybe just for a couple seconds, but we don't realize how much our examples hit on people, but that's awesome. Interesting. Yeah. Any other stories any other things that trials, tribulations or a trial, tribulation that stands out that you may have learned something that might help anybody out there? I know you have a ton. We're going to have you back because we could go on probably for 2 hours, and we will have you back if you'll come back. But
that's nice. Thank you.
Is there one that really, other than your childhood and kind of other things that is a huge highlight that you would want to share?
Yeah. So this was, I don't know, recent, maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. But I had this feeling to go online, look at some construction companies because I've been in interior designing for decades. And I felt like I was leaving money on the table. So I go look at these bunch of these construction companies, find out who might need a designer. So I scroll, I find one I think is pretty cool. and I go to sleep in the morning. I wake up and I feel it. I feel the urgency to go to this company. And my daughter's like, well, do they know you're coming? No. Do they know you, Mom? No. Are they hiring a designer? No. She goes, then why are you going? And I go, I can't explain right now. I just got to go. So I take off. I know I need to be there by 11 a.m. So I get there and the owner just happens to be there. And I walk in and I start pitching what I can do for his company. And I remember him saying, we're not hiring. And we don't need a designer. I'm like,
Right.
posh. You do
You're
need
telling
a
him,
designer,
you
right? So by the time we're done, he says to me, I don't know if this is crazy, if you're crazy, or if this is absolutely stupid. Why in the world would you apply to a company that's not hiring? I go, I only apply to companies that are not hiring because now you're only looking at me. And I know what I bring to the table. If I go apply to a company that's hiring, I got to stand in line. I don't stand in line. So he goes,
Well, there's some confidence for you.
he goes, either now I'm crazy, he goes, but I'm going to hire you. So he hires
That is
me.
phenomenal.
And he goes, go build your department. So I'm there. It's a flooring company. I'm there for, I don't know, a couple weeks. And I say, you know, because I know 90% of every gig I design needs flooring. Why in the world am I pushing my clients off to somebody else when I can have flooring? So
Sure.
I say to this guy, well, is there like a limit in how much I can sell? Because I can sell the backyard to the guy who's still sitting in his own backyard.
Right.
Oh, no. Okay, so I go out and I open this gate to hundreds of homes that are being built. When they have a gate closed, it means you're not supposed to come in. But I go in, I wander around till I find the project manager, and I
Right.
pitch. And he's like, Syd, no one pitches from the street. We've had flooring for years in a contract.
Right.
But I pitch, and I said to him, look, I know someone's ticked you off. Someone is not holding up their end of the bargain. I should get it for
Right.
having the cojones to
Right.
do this. So he goes, okay. So I go back to this guy, this owner, and I go, I have 240 homes for you in a month if you want it. Okay, so you see the greed rolling around. So then he says to me, well, okay, we'll take it, but I'm not going to pay you, Syd, the same kind of commission I normally was paying. So I say to myself, don't get mad. Don't get mad, Sydney. Find the gift. Wander back out, find one more construction company, find this PM again. And he says to me, Sydney, I see you everywhere out here. And he goes, I chuckle every time I see you because I don't know what you're pitching, but I do know this, they already have it. And he says, but here you are. You work harder than anyone I've seen. And he says, so I'm going to give you some information. You're a minority woman in a male-dominated industry. Why in the world are you working for a guy that doesn't see your value? You need to go back and you need to quit working for him and you need to start your own construction company. So I go back, I clean out my desk, I leave, and I start my construction company in 7 days. I
Wow.
build it.
Wow.
And it was one of the most incredible gifts because I just attached I started a flooring company too. I attached the flooring company and the construction company to my interior design boutique. And
Sure. So
Yeah.
now you're the focal point and you're everything.
yeah, and there you go. And that came from Ron Hall, right? Ron
Right,
Hall was
right.
the one that said, DJ, if you want something, figure out how to go get it. You standing around boo-hooing and waiting for someone to want more for you than you want for yourself, you're going to stand around for the rest of your life.
Not much else needs to be said on that one. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
We need to do it again.
I would love
and,
to. Thank
and
you so
have you
much.
do more and more because I think you are a perfect inspiration for not only men, I said men first, but women, young women, young girl, anybody, because there's no excuses. I haven't heard one excuse that
Thank
you
you so
can't do
much,
anything.
Paul.
So honestly, sincerely, thank you. This is the Vulnerable Vikings, and you've been very vulnerable about how your, confidence is, what's a no is just
Really
no
a
is
yes.
just yeah no. Well, in your case, it certainly is. But anyway, thanks for coming in. I hope everybody out there likes, loves, shares, whatever it might be, and we'll have this episode up here very quickly, and we're gonna have Syd back. So
Thank you.
everybody have a great week.
Thank you, Beau.